Whoa!
Craziness. Crazy, crazy.
Died. Wait, your stream died. Your stream died.
What? Oh, okay. Well, it restarted. It wasn't.
Blew it up.
Must have been Twitch. Twitch found out. Twitch found out, guys. We're in trouble. Let's see if it's back. But nothing on my end. I think it's it should be back. Let's make sure before we continue. Uh-oh.
All right, what's up?
Is it good? Is it good?
My specialize are back. Yes.
Okay, cool. But yeah. So Steven, I know in the past you have had issues with this, right?
Yeah, but it's always something that's been like, this is like one of those issues where like I need to sit down and like spend like a good like 8 hours actually like turning over a whole bunch of different thoughts in my head, because I've always had opinions on it, but they're not really strong opinions, and they're always things that I kind of say offhandedly without really thinking about it. Like I have a lot of opinions and ideas about it, and I'm just not sure which side I fall on. A lot of the donation driving stuff to me, it hurts the viewer experience because it comes off as really obnoxious to me. Like there are a lot of streamers now that like employ all these little psychological tricks to get people to donate. You've got like the biggest donor of the day scrolling across the screen.
Yeah.
You've got like I'll read your message on the stream, and there's a sound effect that'll play if you donate. And like for me personally, like if I go and watch a stream, like all that stuff is a little bit annoying. It's not like a deal breaker to me, but it's just kind of annoying. Like there are big streamers in the League community that do it too, and I know there are more than a few that come to mind for people in chat. So like, I mean, as a viewing experience, it's a little annoying. But then I've talked to some of those streamers before about it too, and bounced their ideas off of them. Like I've talked to Hafu quite a bit about it too, and like the point that she would always bring back up to me is like, if you really think about it, like the two big points that she would always bring up is, one, subscriptions are in a way donations. It's really hard to say like you hate donations but then accept subscriptions, which is a really valid point, especially since I don't offer anything for my subscriptions except it makes your name colorful in chat, and the fact that oh, I just totally fucking brain. There were two things. The subscription. And the second thing is that if you don't accept donations, all you're doing is leaving a fuck ton of money on the table. Like, it's the idea that just because you accept donations, you're not forcing people to give them to you, and by not accepting donations, you're losing out on potentially thousands of dollars a month for no real reason, which is also a valid point on the side of the streamer, you know. So I mean, I don't know. It's something that.
It's interesting though, because it's kind of like a Kickstarter in the sense that once you start to, because there is a different category of language that surrounds subscription versus donations. I agree with you; they're virtually the same thing. But when you're accepting donations, there's like this aura of I'm in need, I'm less than, or something like that. And then when that person, like me, if I were to ever accept donations, then later is like, just drop $350 on a model. To a lot of people, they'll look at that and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But to me, that model represents hours and hours of fun, and like, that's my second passion. That's what I love. But you don't get that dialogue with people, so you're creating this mixed message that can hurt you really bad.
I don't know.
That's another thing you just have to be really careful. That's why I prefer the subscription route, and that's why like I explicitly say, like, if you go to subscribe to me at any tier, like the description for what you get is like a joke on every single one. Like, it's pretty explicit. I'm pretty explicit that any money that I get is money that I'm keeping, that I may, like, tomorrow I might dump $10,000 into Bitcoin just to fuck around with all of it. I mean, obviously I wouldn't, but like there's that notion too, that like when you have like that accepting donations, or especially a lot of people have things written out like, I am in need of donations. Or like, if you like what I do, then please donate. Like, if I don't donate, does that mean you're not going to be able to keep streaming? Like that kind of stuff gets really awkward. And like, and I mean, this isn't something that's unique to esports. You can look at the United States government, where there are a lot of people who have similar sentiments. When you talk about welfare or politicians, there are people saying things like, we should drug test these people or follow them around and make sure they're getting jobs. Because anytime you're supporting anyone on a type of welfare, you feel a little bit more entitled to know what they're spending that money on, if that makes sense,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I kind of feel a little bit different than you guys. I'm actually more from the side of being okay with donations, because there's some people, like, I've talked to Hafu a lot about this too, and there's some folks that they don't ask for donations. They just get them. You know what I mean? They're not begging for them. They're not setting up any kind of drives or anything like that. People just give it to them, and
it's one of those things where you just have to be really, really, really conscientious of how you approach it.
I agree.
You can do it in a way that you make a lot of money off of it, and it's really cool. Like, and I try my hardest to go that route. Like I said so many times when I was doing my donation drive that like if you were saving up money like for all year to donate to Doctors Without Borders, like don't send it to me or don't donate money to me because you think I'm going to starve. Like I'm not in financial trouble. And several times I even said like it's not like if I don't get this money, the IRS is going to take my child from me and like send me back like one finger a month until I pay it off. I'm fine. I'll have everything paid off eventually. The money just helps me or whatever. It's not like I don't feel obligated.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really careful. But I mean, there's still the chance that some person could come in at the wrong time and hear one thing that makes them think like, fuck, like this guy needs donation money or else he's going to be homeless.
Yeah.
So it's just you just have to manage it really carefully.
I 1000% agree with that. And I feel like when I tune into a stream and someone is pretty candid about that, just saying like I don't get the crying puppy child in Africa feel from them, where they're like, hey, I'm just barely playing this game on this computer, streaming to hundreds of people, like, and I just need your money, otherwise I'm gonna die tomorrow. Like, anytime that happens, and which granted is very rarely, I turn it off. Like I'm like very turned off by that. It's not what I want to tune into. But streams that take care to treat it not like it's like they're just being honest about it, I guess, where they're just saying, hey, yep, this would help me out, this would support me, this would be nice if you care about what I do and you want to help out. That's a cool way to do it. And I like, actually, as Steven said, when they add the extra part, which is like, hey, if you've got better things to spend your money on, like, please don't spend it on me. I'll be okay. Because I've gotten that too, where that sense of ownership that Steven was talking about, that does occur. Like someone's like, hey, I gave you $20 of the $35 I had in my bank account. You owe me way more than you were ready to do. And you're like, whoa, like, hey, hang on, like, and there's no good response to that person because if you message back to them, they're an idiot for managing their money that way. You're like this big Titanic bully, evil human being. But if you also respond with like, oh gosh, what can I do for you? All of a sudden, you're under their thumb for the rest of your fucking life, being guilt tripped. So it's really ugly. That's why my feeling about donations is just kind of uncomfortable. I think if you can avoid it, you should, and you should stick to things like subscriptions or merchandise or some other means. But I've changed my opinion from being just all out against donations to being a little bit more dynamic, I feel, because in gaming, it's not 2010 StarCraft 2 anymore, where it's like, if you're one of the top earners, you really have nothing to ask for.
Streamed 6 hours today, got $400, feels good. I remember 2010. 2010, 2011. Holy
now it's $45.
shit.
Now it's like exactly. 40. On a good day. On a good day.
Yeah.
Three whole meals for a day.
I know, seriously.
Put in my 12 hours today, cashed out $120, feels pretty good. $10 an hour, 5,000 viewers.
No,
largest
so because of that, because of that exact thing, I think a lot of the full-time streamers now, a good portion of their income comes from donations. And
definitely.
Hafu makes tons off it. Maximus makes tons off it.
That was something that made me reform my my decision a little bit. And I looked. There was that thread that was posted. The thread that gets posted every month, the top 50 StarCraft 2 streamers. And I saw a lot of people, or a few people were discussing about it. And I went and I laid out all my specific numbers. And I realized like I was on the top. I had 4 times more viewer hours, like 3 or 4 times more viewer hours than the next highest person, which was Dragon on that list. I was very, very, very far ahead, number 1. And I had made $2,500 in that month. So it's like, I can't even imagine like how fucked everybody lower on that list who's streaming hundreds of hours a month must be, So like when I look at that and then you start mixing the numbers, like, well, if I took like half of my viewer hours or like I multiply my viewer hours by 0.10, I can figure out what somebody with a tenth of my viewer hours would make. You gotta guesstimate from there. And it's like, well, holy fuck, like if I was in that position, I would be, driving the donation thing hard too. And if you are trying to play StarCraft full time, there is a good chance that you actually need the donations to get by at that point,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what's brutal about that too is the like we always talk about a couple years ago where similar numbers got us 2 or 3 times more. What's kind of what happens
4 times more.
4 or 5. Yeah, just a lot more.
Real fast, just to say that's not an exaggeration. That number is not that 3 or 4 times more. It's not an exaggeration, but
one of the crazy things about that though is that it's like on a good day, Steven, I've seen your stream hit like 6,000 or 7,000, and of course in the years past it was closer to 10 or over 10. So a couple thousand drop off, but a lot of people just assume that this is unique to StarCraft 2 and like, oh, it just must mean that StarCraft 2 streams aren't nearly as viewed or fun or watched or whatever. It's actually that there's like there's just 100 times more games being streamed at the exact same time, consuming that ad revenue. So and it's we used to have Own3D slightly competing, but now it's just Twitch. So The ad sales incentive is down the drain as well. Like, it's just a really bad streaming atmosphere for everybody. Of course, if you're streaming to 30,000 people, it's not great, because if you're doing that 3 years ago, your numbers are ridiculous, and now they're still ridiculous. They're just 5 times less ridiculous.
I mean, that's why I'd like to see, in the near future, just more ad networks, at least coming up to a lot of the big streamers and offering services that are in the content, not necessarily on the platform like Twitch offers. And I remember talking to Kevin about this, Kevin Lin, like at Twitch, and seeing what his thoughts are, just if they hate that or not, and didn't really give a very definitive answer to it. So I think there's possibilities.
To be honest, at this point, we just need competition. Like what you said, I don't disagree with what you said, but how about just another stream provider that doesn't die?
Wait,
the stream provider is just providing you an ad network.
Hold on. The stream crashed again.
What the fuck?
Okay, wait, it's back.
Speak to the devil.
Really? Like XSplit doesn't even say. Okay, well. Anyways, all right, it's back. XSplit didn't.
How ironic!
Ironic, exactly.
Like I love Twitch. I'm not just saying that. Yeah. I actually, rub shoulders with them and like those guys. But I think one of the best things for gaming right now would be if another number 2 came up and rivaled them, made them actually innovate and challenge them. Right now, there's not. There's no reason to.
But innovating and challenge doesn't mean that you're going to get more revenue, though. That doesn't.
What?
That doesn't necessarily equivocate.
Yeah, of course it would. What are you talking about?
Or I mean negotiating. You mean negotiating CPMs and stuff like that?
I'm gonna say
okay.
This sounds a little bit iffy, but one of the reasons why I switched to owned when I got offered the contract is because when I was approached by Own to switch over to Own, the incentives that they were giving me were absolutely insane compared to my current incentives. Mm-hmm. And the counteroffer that came from that made me question why I had getting paid what I was up to that point, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to say yes to sound smart, but I don't know.
So let's say you're getting paid $5 an hour to carry dragon dildos from the back of your truck into your master's basement, right? Now, let's say some guy rolls around, let's say you do that for 2 years, okay?
Yeah.
And then a guy comes up to you and he goes, wow, I'm going to pay you $25 an hour to carry dragon dildos from my truck to my bedroom. And then the guy that you've been working for 2 years says, well, hold on a second, I'm going to give you $25 now to do it.
Sure.
So you see how you might have a little bit of feelings of resentment where you're like, what do you mean? Like now all of a sudden you're ready to bump my shit up like an insane amount to match the offer? Like
Yeah.
But I think you have to appreciate the business aspect too. If they can get you at cheaper, they will. And if all of a sudden you become a commodity that is now being paid for.
But then that supports the statement that competition is good, because then it forces competition. There's no negotiating to be made when you only have one party, when you only have one streaming service to negotiate with. It's like, well, we're cutting your contract to 2 CPM, and it's like, well, fuck you, I don't like that. It's like, okay, where are you going to stream at,
I'll take my services to YouTube.
Yeah. You mean YouTube Videos Plus or Google Videos Plus?
That's why I suggest, given that there isn't anything, that's why I suggested just in addition to it, we, us as content producers or as streamers, we can maybe go engage other ad networks and provide our own, possibly video interstitials and stuff like that.
That's a lot of work, man. There's a reason why Twitch is the only one that does it right now, and Own failed super fucking hard. Like that's a lot of work to get that kind of content delivery system set up to all over the world, and to have a team that manages
all over the world. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do all over the world. You're playing it just on your stream. It's like a separate interstitial.
But you've got to deliver your stream to all over the world. Or are you just talking about showing ads on Twitch?
No, I'm just saying showing ads on Twitch. So you're working with an external ad network and showing the ads on.
But but it's impossible to do that through the applet unless you're talking about just showing ads on streams.
No,
but those
that's
are just
what I'm saying.
No?
Yeah,
those are just personal sponsors, though.
It doesn't have to be. There are ad networks out there that offer video interstitials.
Yeah, but the problems with those video things is that kind of advertising delivery system relies on like cookies and IP addresses to deliver relevant ads to relevant parts of the world. No one in America, like Walmart, no, all of them. Walmart isn't going to pay you, Walmart's a bad example. How about some local company that only exists in the United States, like the Outback Steakhouse isn't going to pay you, 10 CPM when 80% of your ads on your video things are going to people who are out of the country.
Sure,
and they
it's
have
a different model. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they have no way to track those metrics unless they're actually, plugged into your stream.
Right. Well, they can track how many times you played them ads, and then you can give them viewership numbers. It'd have to be weird stuff like that. But
Yeah, it would.
anyways,
Yeah, it would
that's-
have to be weird stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's
But it would also be really irrelevant for a lot too, because then 80% of your fan base is stuck watching an ad for the Outback Steakhouse, and as we all know, only Australia, the authentic home of the Outback, and the United States has access to that restaurant. The 7 or 8 other continents on the world wouldn't get access to your wonderful advertising.
Right. Okay, let's move on. Let's go into next thing. Big news for StarCraft 2 pros. Violet was announced as being recognized as the first StarCraft 2 pro gamer. Or actually, he's the first StarCraft 2 pro gamer to be recognized as an athlete by the U.S. government, which was, I guess, the first people to really accomplish this was, League of Legends and Riot and those folks. But this is pretty big news. This first StarCraft person, and I know Andrew and CSA and all those guys. They went through a lot to get this done. So what do you guys think? What do you think this means for?
Did you say Violet or Scarlet?
Violet.
Okay, I thought you said Scarlet. I must have been here. Thanks,
Violet.
Cameron.
No. But Jeff, what do you think? What do you think of this news?
So when Lincoln came out, everyone was really excited about it, and Daniel Day-Lewis, fantastic actor, did a beautiful job. When Anna asked me, do I want to go see it, I said no, despite it winning all these awards and stuff like that. And she's like, why? It's just not my kind of movie. So yeah, this is really great news. It's a Pathfinder. It's first time. Violet's been out of the scene for a long time because he overstayed, and then his representation lobbied to have him recognized for a better visa, and that potentially is great news. I'm just not that interested by it, and I don't know if that makes me callous or ignorant, or I don't know, but I always thought this was a natural next step, and I'm glad Violet did it. He's a fun player to watch, great guy, but he's been off my mind for about a year now, so we'll see what he does.
That's the EG blood talking right there, man. Oh man,
I don't even know what that means. There's
I know.
so
I mean,
many,
it's just
you're inferring so many different things that are supposed to hurt my feelings. I guess.
No,
but,
I mean,
Are you saying
J-Dog.
Violet's
I mean,
gonna drop
obviously
off
J-Dog
hard? Are
is
you saying
like
Violet's only in it for the
doing
money?
really great
Which-
right now. What?
Oh yeah.
Probably
Probably all
negative
the above. I just
stereotype.
hate-
What negative
probably
stereotype were you
straight
going
up.
for there, ChanManV?
I was just mostly that J-Dog's doing some really, really great now. And obviously he's at the fore. He's just on most people's minds
Did you
right
say
now. so-
Jade-On?
Yeah.
What about Jade-On? Why? What?
No, I was just saying he's like at the forefront of the Korean players right now. Just at least from the standpoint of just playing in the U.S. and that sort of thing. But anyways, okay.
What does that have to do with Violet? Why are you talking about Jade-On? What is that?
Anyway,
Wait,
Steven,
wait,
what do you
Don't
think?
let
Of that?
people think for a second that that's anything close to what I was inferring. Jade-On's better, so I don't care about Violet's fucking money. Know what I'm saying? Let's talk about something
That's
good
not
like
what I
oil.
meant.
Can we get involved in oil? No, the thing is,
Yeah.
this already happened with LoL players.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's great for Violet, and I am friends with Violet, and I'm happy for him. But I didn't when this happened. I didn't go hot damn! The government recognizes us as athletes. Fantastic. They can't get healthcare to work. We can't put good people in the right spots, and in general, shit sucks. But if you lobby after months, and a person's career almost goes completely down the drain because of it, they might become an athlete as recognized by the government. Fantastic.
All right. Okay, Steven, what do you think? What?
Wait, what?
So what do you think of the
No.
news? What do you think of the news? Hello?
I'm sorry. I think it's what he just what InControL just said.
What InControL just said.
Wait,
Okay.
Violet and Jade are separate people, right?
Yes, of course. What the fuck?
Okay, I'm sorry. My
I
brain
was
just went off on a
as well.
my brain just went off on a totally different road, and I got
Okay,
lost.
okay.
in
No,
that
no,
place,
I
but
mean,
I'm back.
I
What Jeff said is right. I mean, it's great. There's still a lot of work that has to be done if you want to get what is it, a B2 visa that Violet got? I don't even know.
yeah. I think so.
That stuff is good, but I mean, it really only matters right now for Violet. To be completely honest, I really don't give much a fuck. I would be happier if it was harder for visas to go out because I'm tired of foreigners coming to my country to steal my jobs. My parents hated the Mexicans for
That's
doing it.
true.
I hate the Koreans for doing it.
That's
The cycle continues. And congratulations to Violet. Hopefully, it makes it easier for people in the future. All that good stuff, right?
Sure. All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right, moving on. Let's go into. All right, let's take a look at 2013. Do a year in review, 2013, and taking a look at Heart of the Swarm. Heart of the Swarm launched in March, and we had the beta kind of leading up to it to kind of start off our year. Let's just take a look at, end of the year. Let's take a look at, really assess where the game is at this point. You guys happy with where the game is? Do you think there still needs to be some changes? Jeff, why don't you kick it off?
Am I happy with where the game is? Are you talking strictly balance?
Yeah, balance, just where, just from that standpoint, just the game itself.
When I watch a tournament, I feel like I'm seeing more variety than I have in the past. I still think there probably is some room for change. I don't know. It's tough to say, but like going off of even like DreamHack Winter, which for me was the last big tournament. I watched some of NorthCon, which was unfortunately the tournament that Jade did win, and I didn't watch that much of it all. Yep. There's still like I don't know. This might be just built into StarCraft 2 as a system, but a lot of times I feel like, in particular, the high-powered Korean players find like one or two builds that this is what they do, and then that they just do that, and that can kind of stagnate the gameplay throughout a tournament. I've been told that a big part of that is because a lot of those guys were traveling for like the entire months of October and November, so they didn't have time to go home and practice anything at all. They just fucking took their show on the road, and that was it. So if that's the case, then obviously we need to talk about the WCS system and tournament structure in general, and just how StarCraft 2 is handled. But as far as the game itself is concerned, it's pretty fun and it's pretty exciting, and it's more exciting than it has been in the past. So that part's good. There hasn't been a lot of chatter about LVO, or not LVO, Legacy of the Void is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's in part because all the devs are focused right now, or most of the devs, excuse me, are focused on Heroes. So I guess in this time right now, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool.
What's that noise? Do you
hear
that
My
noise?
dog's snoring.
Oh, okay.
It's Barrison snoring.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, that's cool. Steven, what do you think right now? Current state of the game?
It seems to be okay. I still hate the way Protoss plays, but for the most part, it seems to be okay. I guess all those problems are kind of too ingrained now for it to ever really change. But
well, Jeff, you're a Protoss player. What do you think of just all just basically the comments there?
Well, he just said he doesn't like how Protoss. I feel like you wouldn't be a Zerg if you didn't hate Protoss. And the name is Zerg for me.
That's true.
I think Zerg in ever has been like, I love playing against Protoss.
I feel like most reasonable Protoss, so everybody except for like Sase and Aniwa, feels that just the way that Protoss plays has always felt a little gimpy. Where I don't know, like the force field mechanic just the way that Protoss works is like, it's like if you remove some things, like the entire race completely and totally fucking falls apart, and it would be impossible to play. But so like it's like you're constantly on this like teetering edge of like really stupid shit that makes it kind of work. But like if you were to take it away, like you would see how fucked up like everything else is. So you kind of have to put it in, and it just, I don't know, it just feels really iffy.
I'm sure I don't disagree with you, and the thing is about this conversation in general is that I'm like the worst guy for this, because the way my brain works is when I know something won't change and it's just how it is, I automatically just reconfigure to accepting that. Like if I was like, damn,
sure.
I really wish the sky was a magenta picture of a polar bear. I wouldn't even consider it for 2 seconds because I know it's not possible, so I just wouldn't. So when people are like, I wish the force field mechanic would change, or Colossus are stupid, they're not going to take Colossus out. They're not going to take force field out. They're not even going to change force field to health. It is what it is. So I just accept it, and then I focus on the other aspects of the game. But I don't disagree with you. It sucks that Protoss live and die off of force fields. They're pretty dumb, but I don't know what a world looks like without them, except for Brood War, which was great, but that was 5 years ago.
Sure, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier, and that it was so ingrained that the conversations are almost irrelevant at this point, because it would take like for Legacy of the Void to address any of the issues that we've kind of always had with Protoss, and that even Protoss players have had with Protoss. It would take like a dramatic restructuring of the entire race. Like, I think that Zerg and Terran sit in okay spots right now, with Terran having like the best design. I'm not even talking about strength. I just mean, like, I always feel like Terran has had the best design by far. Like, everything about the race. I know a lot of people joked about Wings of Liberty being like, it's the Terran, part of StarCraft 2, so maybe they had more time to flesh out ideas. But Terran has always just felt like a super solid, like, everything about the race has felt really good. And Zerg feels like it's in an okay spot right now. But Protoss, even if the balance is the same, even if Protoss is overpowered, even if Protoss is underpowered, I don't know, Protoss has always just felt really, like it was just really shoddily designed. Like the force field kind of handicap was like too much of a gimmick to rest on, and then everything had to be designed around that. Where it's like we could give Protoss like some really cool things, but we can't because it'll be crazy overpowered because force fields are so fucking good. And we kind of have to nerf some things at Protoss, but if we touch this, everything falls apart because it's built on like a house of cards. So like I don't know, I don't know if anything can be done to address those problems in Legacy of the Void without like a total restructuring of the race.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about WCS. Assessments on 2013 and WCS, because it kind of went through lots of crazy phases, lots of criticisms along the way, but now we're finally finished. Kind of had the grand finals in November, and kind of can look back, and we've actually heard the news of 2014. So, in your opinion, WCS success or failure overall? Jeff.
If I was to, thankfully you brought it on. We're all, I guess mostly Steve and I are very wordy people, so I imagine I'm allowed to say more than just yes or no.
Of course,
so,
yeah, as much as you want. As much as you want.
But to start off, if we were to just weigh it that way, success or failure, I would say it was a success. But I would say that with a gigantic. Let me explain myself. The idea of WCS, the idea of creating a tournament system that keeps a story across the year, that you're building points to, that is handing out significance to tournaments that otherwise maybe wouldn't, to give some form of daily content on a what should have been a semi-regular basis, but would end up being like every fucking day. That's all good. That's a great idea. And with some restructuring and the things they're talking about now, 3 seasons in a 4-season year, dropping the broadcast of Code A stuff, in the different regions, so that allows for more free time for streamers to actually breathe, for other tournaments to hopefully spring up. That's where WCS should be for me to put my stamp on it and say, this is a success, this is great. BlizzCon, fantastic. Thousands of dollars going out, supporting pro gamers, fantastic. Handing tournaments points and giving people reasons to travel all year long and for people to tune in, that's all great. Why I would always add this asterisk and this lengthy explanation for why I do call it a success, but almost with some reticence, is because WCS did a lot of things bad this year. It drowned out, it almost killed NESL. It ends up being also its saving grace at the same time. It's part of the reason why MLG has been, I don't want to say push, because that would take all blame from MLG, and believe me, I would never do that. But it's part of the reason why MLG is not amongst us anymore, which is too bad, because they brought on some, they were really good for the scene when they did do things right. And at the same time, the streaming's like, yes, Twitch, ad sales and whatnot is really bad right now, but so is like finding, like right now it's really nice in this part of December. I look at the sidebar, I see 20 streams with decent numbers, and I'm like, great, that reminds me of what it used to be like. But during the WCS season, it'll be like the #1 guy with maybe 2,000 or 1,500 viewers, not because he's not a good streamer and nobody cares, but because everyone's so fucking tired of watching StarCraft, because they just got done watching 3 tournaments in one weekend, and now WCS kicks in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's morning, evening, and it's all day long. Is the point I'm trying to make.
EU and
that was
right?
too much. And if that would have gone on, it would have killed the scene worse than anything I've ever seen. Like if 2013 spanned into 2014, and then probably bled into 2015 the way it did, I could see people in droves shifting out of games and just not putting any professional time into this game because it was squelching them, it was drowning them. So that's why I call it a success, but it's because we know about 2014, and it's because of how 2013 ended. BlizzCon was fantastic. The tournaments were getting really good. NASL is doing a great job with their daily content. ESL became a great content producer. So we have really good partners and we have a good scene. But WCS needed to relax and open up the space, and I think they're starting to do that, and that's why I think it's a success.
I mean, you mentioned just having so many days of StarCraft each and every week. I mean, we're still going to have a lot of days of StarCraft. Maybe 1 or 2 days less each week. Is that going to be an issue? Oversaturation still going to be an issue in 2014, you think?
It's not perfect, in my opinion. In my opinion, it should be like 2 WCS seasons next year. You don't show, I called it Code A, but it's, whatever.
Challenger.
The division under Premier. Mm-hmm. Challenger. They drop Challenger. I don't know. It's all up in the air. But the point is, it should be that Premier is a big fucking deal. When a Premier broadcast goes on, which is still cool if it's like 3 or 4 times a week, you should be excited like it's Code S. Remember that? Like we'd watch it late at night and be like, oh god, Code S is on. I'm going to watch. Did you watch Code S last night? But by mid-season last year, was any like there was no discussion about did you watch WCS Premier League NA last night? It's because everyone assumes you either did or you just didn't because nobody really cares. Like you're going to hear about it no matter what because every other broadcast is talking about that one too. So it lost its sparkle, it lost its importance, but also it just killed. It was just viewership fatigue, man. Like everyone was tired of watching StarCraft, and it got really bad, and I think it would have killed the scene.
Steven, what do you think?
I think that that's not going to be an issue in 2014 because ESGN is going to round everybody up and get everybody together, and we're all going to be on the same page, right?
Right.
Right. I mean, it's impossible to say how 2014 will go. I all you can do is hope for the best. Obviously, I'm very biased against a big broadcasting schedule because, like Jeff said, it hurts the streaming numbers quite a bit, and that's where I make the majority of my money at. So, hopefully, they stick to not the crazy amount of content. Although I think most people can agree with that sentiment that streaming fucking 12 days a week, having all the content. I remember when they used to do that with MLG and IPL too, where like the stream would be on 24/7, and I would never know when the fuck to turn it on. Like you turn it on and it's like a rebroadcast of like some game that happened forever ago, and it's like yeah. So hopefully they figure that all out. I mean, like I said, it's impossible to comment on anything until we see how it actually, or like I don't want to give any definitive statements until we see how it actually plays out in 2014 to see how things look.
Yeah, it's definitely hurt. I mean, even from a community standpoint, the number of streamers, I mean, if we looked like about 4 months ago and just looked at the streaming list, it was pretty pathetic. You know, just all of EG stopped streaming at one point. Was that the main reason y'all stopped streaming?
Well, you know what's tough about it? It's like you would turn on your stream, and because everyone's exhausted or, you know, the viewer, the reasons we all stated, you'd get like 900 or 1,200 people on there. And then when you stream to that many time and time again, and then the average comes out that you have only 800 or 900 people watching, whereas if you streamed on a Saturday when there was no WCS, you'd have your 2.5, 3,000 or whatever. Your team then looks at those numbers, compares it to everyone else that streams or whatnot, and all of a sudden your value's going down. So it was actually becoming detrimental to stream. It was never about money, by the way, because as Steven jokes, but what's actually true is that in this day and age, you're not really. I mean, it's nice to make that extra $50, but you're not really making droves of money streaming. It's creating value for yourself and providing content for the community that you then say that then people then like take that and base their value of you on. If I do a good stream actively, people will then be like, "Oh my God, you released a shirt! Hell yeah, I'm buying that because I love your stream and I like your taste in music." You know what I mean? But if you don't stream and you don't win tournaments and then you release a shirt, people won't buy it. They just don't care.
It's also, this is a phenomenon that's not unique to StarCraft. I don't know how many other games it goes on, but I know it happens a lot in League of Legends too, where that LCS schedule, I don't know if they've changed it or not, but it used to be really rigorous, like 5 days a week of LCS games, and all the big streamers would get annihilated when that LCS was going. People that would stream to like 15,000 viewers would only get like a couple thousand when LCS was going on, you know?
To be honest, their scene is, and it's funny for me in particular to comment on it, because I'm, you know, as outside as you can be, but they are like the ultimate, they're like the final stage of what WCS could have become, where I feel like if you're not inside LCS, if you're not on an LCS team or you're an LCS broadcaster, you don't have much in the way of a future in LoL. Like you just, you know, you can almost name on one hand the amount of successful LoL streamers that aren't on a successful team, right? And they're
you could do it on one hand, yeah.
So is this WCS structure, in your opinion, Jeff, like, is it better than what we had in 2011, where we just had a bunch of independent organizations like MLG and DreamHack and doing their own thing for, you know, your player, just all the players can travel to any of them? Is this structure actually better?
You know, that's a really good question, and to be honest, I could honestly agree with both sides depending on how well they're fielded. The pros and cons are as follows. Like the pros is that this is money being injected into the scene. This is Blizzard showing interest. This is Blizzard actively trying to grow and strengthen the tournament scene. The con would obviously be that it's not allowing for natural organic growth, and with Blizzard stepping in means that a lot of people are getting elbowed out or there's just no room. Like you're seeing a lot less grassroots stuff. You're seeing a lot less big streams because, as Steven said earlier too, like why would I turn on one of those streams when I just have a gigantic 20,000 person WCS NA stream on in an hour? Like I'm not going to make time for that personal streamer because I've already made time for that big stream later.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets kind of bad, and that's why I'm at least trying to be optimistic about a happy middle ground in 2014, where it's like they have that big WCS banner that we all can be proud of and excited about, but it's not every single day, so we have no choice. I want a choice. I want a tournament to pop up that I've never heard of, and I want them to kick ass, like a Home Story Cup, like a Tespa, or maybe a Scion someday. And I want them to have room to breathe and to be awesome and not have to worry about the 5 other tournaments that weekend that are blinding them, you know?
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on? Yeah, I never got your opinion on just the college scene, just the whole CSL thing, and I know you've gone to, I think the Irvine event. You went to the Irvine event or something earlier this year.
I've been to a few.
When you first moved, when you first were down there. What do you think of the college scene right now in StarCraft?
You know, I don't know what state it's in right now, but at least a while ago when I did check out a couple of their events, I love the idea that there are college students passionate about StarCraft and gaming, really. Like, there's LoL at all these events as well, and they just got together and organized these kinds of things. I think that's like the spirit of gaming, is just doing something because you're passionate about and excited about and you want to, and then making it happen. And that was going on a lot. I can't help but to always like look at something and evaluate it based on like its business. I don't think efficacy is the right word, but like a potential success, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times their broadcasts felt very amateurish, so I had a tough time getting super behind it. But I always really appreciated that they were trying. And I guess, you know, a good example are the Rosen twins of 2 guys who started off in college, and now they're working for Red Bull, and they're basing their entire life on planning StarCraft events.
Well,
I think
Blizzard just picked them up. They're part of the Blizzard esports scene now, right? So
whatever that means, that might not mean anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more.
I like to believe it means that they've.
He wants to see their contract or something, man.
Well, not just like, wow, like, hey, like, good news, I got a Razer sponsorship. Like, are you getting 50,000 a year, or are you getting a free mouse every other year? Like, what does that mean? You know,
Sure,
like,
sure.
so that's so when they said that Blizzard picked them up, I had no idea how to feel about that news. It could be really, really, really good, or it could just be completely fucking worthless. Like, Blizzard picking them up means that now they get the licenses to broadcast the tourneys for free every time, or like now they get the whitelisted IP address cleared so that their people don't, you know, like, and it's just like a.
That's fair enough.
Okay, so 2014, you know, again, we've heard some changes, and there's going to be a lot more openness in the schedule, which will be great for lots of other events. But, you know, you did mention prior that MLG has kind of faded out of the scene, and now we have like Red Bull coming on the scene, really full-fledged. Yep. So what do you think of that? What do you think of what you've seen with Red Bull and just losing MLG, which has always been kind of like a stalwart event organizer in the
U.S.?
U.S.
What?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked this question, because I'm going to be pretty honest. All right, so let me. Well, it's always weird to say that, but I feel like it's how you build up momentum into saying something pretty honest. Anyways, I like it. I like Adam. I like Sundance. I've got friends in MLG. But let's be brutally fucking honest. The absolute worst way you could ever break up with somebody is over Twitter. And I feel like MLG did us wrong by literally in response to some guy asking him, hey, is there going to be StarCraft at Columbus? And he's like, no, I think we're done with StarCraft for now. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit! That is such crap. Like, you know, we've had our ups and downs with MLG, certainly, but if anything, we being StarCraft, we're a part of the reason why MLG is where it's at right now. And not all the credit, of course not. Halo gets a lot of it, and their own hard work and their own tenacity, of course. But certainly StarCraft is a part of that growth that they've experienced, that success. And for them to just fucking, no, fuck you. You know, like, make a page on your website. Make a special announcement and give us the sob story about how you want to, but, you know, it doesn't make sense right now, and there's other options that they have to consider. They love gaming. That's their first priority. Do some legwork. But to do that, like, I'm pissed. I'm actually sad, because we had great times at MLG. Amazing events. And that's how it ends. Like, maybe StarCraft will never go back to MLG, and the last word we had from them was, "Hey, is MLG gonna be at Columbus?" No, not anymore.
So
Well,
I think what Jeff is trying to say is, how do you raise 8 figures worth of venture capital and not have enough money to hire a publicist or hire some PR guy?
Or let Sundance
I don't
be the
understand.
publicist.
It's like no,
boy.
that's something that has always blown my mind, and that's one of the things that I always point to sometimes in esports, and I really kind of wonder sometimes where it's like, is everybody here like 14 years old and trying to figure this shit out? Because there's no excuse, and obviously it sounds really arrogant for me saying that, but like there's no excuse for the horrible PR that MLG has had on a consistent basis. And there are a lot of problems that MLG could have abated completely if they would have just had a better PR guy, like literally one
Yes.
guy. Like literally they could have said, hey, random dude from the StarCraft 2 community, Day9 or Husky or even HD
It's not
StarCraft.
random, guys, but okay.
When I say random, I mean unaffiliated with MLG. Completely
Okay.
unaffiliated. They could have pointed to them and say, hey, I'll give you $10,000 a year to like fucking write PR statements for us or something like that. Because at least those people, you know that those people are alive in the scene because they at least
Yes.
have some kind of understanding of it. But there are way too many things that MLG did that reeked of fourth grade fucking project that your mom and dad made you finish the last night before it was due. Like pushing like what was the thing where like the new content where they were like, sorry, if you're a gold member, you're fucked, we're not giving you anything. Like that entire issue could have been 100% A-okay if they would have released a statement beforehand explaining everything. Hey, by the way, guys, we just want to let you know that even though we promised you in the past that our gold members are going to have access to everything, we found out that this is restricting our ability to deliver new content because we've locked ourselves into a contract that we can't keep. So we're offering, like this. Like they could have avoided so many problems if they would have just released like fucking 2 paragraphs. They could have paid
Steven's
anybody in
hitting the nail on
esports
the
to
head.
do it. They could
Yeah.
have paid anybody in esports fucking $5,000 to do it, and it would have been a huge net gain for them not to deal with the enormous shitstorm that would follow with their horrible PR management. Like, oh
And
my
speaking of that real
god,
quick,
yeah.
a guy in the chat said people would react the same way if they did what Steven just described, what I was describing. To be honest, yes, some people would, but they would then be in the wrong. Like if the company
and they would be in
does
the
the legwork,
small minority.
if the legwork is done and then they like, hey, we got a company to run, we've got people to feed, we've got lives at stake, so we have to make the best decision possible. We love you guys. We hope to come back if it makes more sense. We had a good time. Like you say the shit that people think like it's like cool and suave to say like I don't need to hear that. Just tell me the truth. No, you want to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to hear that.
And,
I
like,
want that. story
literally.
told.
Yeah.
I could have did it, Jeff could have did it, Day9 could have did it, anybody in a position of even close to our level of fame could have written that statement 15 different ways and submitted 15 different drafts that all would have went over way better with the community. And instead of this giant, wow, fuck you, MLG, like, oh, like, fuck the community, but instead of that huge, horrible fucking feeling that we feel now, because now if MLG ever wants to step back into the StarCraft 2 market, they have to overcome and undo all of that horrible negative PR. Instead, we would have left each other on more somber terms. It would have been like, wow, like if like the statement would have been something like, we have, investors that we're held responsible to. We've raised a lot of capital. We have to turn our books around. And as much as we love StarCraft and we thank StarCraft for getting us to where we are today, we have to pursue other avenues of revenue, whether it's Dota 2 or League. We really hope that if we continue to grow our foundation in the future, we can come back to StarCraft and continue to support the community that has always supported us. Like any statement like that would have
gross,
like
you
everybody
just
would have
spitballed that too.
Yeah.
like yeah,
fucking
like
dribbled that out of your mouth.
any statement like that. Everybody on Reddit,
You didn't even
like,
spend
can you
time on it. You
imagine?
just fucking.
Can you imagine the first comment of that on that Reddit thread would have been something like, "Wow, like we supported MLG all this time, and we're really sorry that we have to go." Like everybody went more like, "I hope we can see you in the future. Like good luck in the future." Instead of that, what Jeff said, like, "Sorry, we're not doing any more StarCraft 2" over Twitter. And it's like, how fucking burned do you have to feel? Yeah. I can't believe how horrible MLG's always been at managing their PR. That's something that has never sat right in my head. I completely cannot fucking understand that.
Well,
And I gotta tell you, like, it's not just us. Like, I'm not gonna drop names, and I know this is such a stupid thing to do, but I'm just gonna say it. Like, people in other games, when they saw this happen, they were like, "Whoa, that's like, whoa, that's," because everything Steven just said is absolutely, actually, fucking true. And I've ranted about this a few times, but man, you give someone and he said, esports people, fuck that. Let's detach that. Let's say, no, not us. It's not about money. You pay someone to do the job that's supposed to have been done there, just in general. And they have someone. Adabisi posts in chat, so they have someone that does that for a living. Okay, then that person probably should be furious at Sundance, who just like that's how that news was broke. How did you know that StarCraft wouldn't be at the event? Well, Sundance replied to some random person on Twitter saying it's not going to happen, and that's the last we've ever heard of MLG. Like Sundance should have done that, and then immediately been like, red lights are flaring. He's like, what did I do now? And people run in, they're like, Sundance, you hit the idiot button again, you fucking dumbass. We got to go into DEFCON 4. And they come in and they write up this statement.
They get on the
Steven
Reddit
literally
threads.
just spitballed, by the way. Steven took 2 seconds and spitballed a speech that was 100 times better than that tweet. So if they took 5 minutes between their professional New York brain trust millionaire minds and wrote out a speech, it would be better. I promise you it would be better. You know why I know? Because every other industry on the fucking planet spends millions of dollars doing this because they know it's important.
Very true. And the one thing I'd have to throw in there too is that I feel like the tweets still continue. Just these little tweets, these little jabs at the StarCraft 2 community, they still happen, from those guys. And
and Sundance seems so oblivious because whenever you listen to him talk sometimes, whenever you would listen to Sundance talk about things on talk shows, I remember that whole gold fiasco because I watched him so much there. He always seemed so shocked. He was like, I can't believe that the StarCraft kids are so upset at us, like after all I give it back, and like I totally get it, dude, and like we had all the fucking events, we had the things, and I gave them this and I gave them that, and I'm down $450 million on StarCraft 2, people are still mad and I don't get it, and it's like, fuck, like how can you dump so much money into your business and not even fucking manage the PR? Like, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's the rant. But to answer your question in full, I am really excited about Red Bull because they're doing
let's go.
awesome events. They're trying to step up production. They all the players rant and rave about how good they're treated there, which is actually kind of a hidden Incan city in esports. Or really like like the final frontier is where the players are starting to get treated really nice. It's one of the saddest things about IPL is they did a great job. Like they, at least for the first couple events, the ones that I attended, we were treated kind of like athletes and celebrities, and it was really nice. But Red Bull is doing that right now, so I hope what they do is what they've done the last couple years, but didn't necessarily super follow through on. I hope they announce we're doing 5 stops this year. It's all top end competition, $25,000-$50,000 stuff that they snot out of their nose, in 2 seconds. And I hope they support us that way because they've done a great job so far. So I just kind of want more. So I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's cool about Red Bull is I feel like, I went to the one in Orlando just earlier in October, I think it was, or no, maybe in the summer, and you can tell that they're dumping in some real money into all this, and I felt like it's been progressive too. They haven't just jumped right in with some crazy, giant event. They've been these, more of these kind of insular kind of invitationals, and then at the end they had their nice event. So 2014, I'm really excited. With Rob there too. Rob's been doing a great job, and
absolutely,
I think they are going to take the reins for StarCraft 2, and they are more than happy to. They're very excited about StarCraft 2, and that's really, really great for us. So I mean, I still hold hope. I hope that MLG still does some StarCraft 2 events here and there, but
Rob, Red Bull, if you're listening, open bracket, man.
Yeah, open bracket, exactly.
Part of the passion you hear in my voice and my anger with MLG is because they did such a great job providing the scene with an awesome open bracket that people got so excited about. I'm so sad that we don't have that right now. ESL does open brackets for their IEM events, and they're really cool, but part of what makes them a little bit less cool is because they're at such kind of remote places that you're not getting that cool Gosu user story about how he beat Polt in complexity, quickly, put on our jersey. Remember, we paid you to $25 to do this. That's a really cool underdog story. But at IEM events, the open bracket is like Oz and Revival and really top end, good Korean players. It's not really. It's still fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's not that breathing new life into a scene kind of open bracket. And I hope Red Bull does that. They haven't said anything to say they are, but it's just that they're doing such an awesome job. We kind of asked for it now.
Yeah.
The environment was great. You got the chance to play in the open bracket. Anybody could do it. The access to the players was great if you were a fan. The ability to watch that many games in person as fans in a giant fucking auditorium or whatever the venue was. Everything about the open bracket was really, really, really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, why don't we take a quick break and then we'll continue on with this year in review 2013. We'll be right back, guys.